So 13 games down. I thought it was time to, spark a little bit of a change here. I'm gonna take the cold open today because Jonah usually takes these. But we need to change things up, because around here, around the Sabre report, we like change. We like to make change, We think change is a good thing. So we thought we'd take the lead and hopefully the Sabres would follow. But I thought I would just try and spark the conversation like that.
Well, hopefully they take after you, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
No, no, I wouldn't hold my breath either. I'd probably be in a coffin at this point if I was holding my breath that long. Man, how far we've fallen. Actually, no, we didn't fall very far, but we fell back down again.
Too good to be bad. Too good to be bad. Too good to be bad. I can't believe I said that, man.
We're
Unbelievable.
the jinx. It's
It's
crazy around here.
unbelievable. They haven't. I don't. Have they won a game since I said that?
Well, I don't even know how long ago you said that.
I forget when it was. But I think it was during the beginning of this free fall. Where I'm like, yeah, it'll be mediocre. Nope. Nope. They're tied for 32nd in the NHL right now.
Are they tied right
They're
now,
tied
or
with right now. They're tied with the Blackhawks.
will those two Goliaths clash in what, like
I think they're on national
5 days?
television Friday night.
Dude, no, no one wants to watch that. Get them off national television.
I need to check. It might be, maybe it was an NHL Network game. Maybe that's what it was. No, it's on ESPN too. They're putting that
Oh
game on
no.
national television.
Ugh, Jesus, that's like the Panthers Giants game this year in what was that, Germany? Just
Yeah,
dog,
at least they
dog
snuck that
water.
in the morning. We got the
Yeah, I
seven
know.
o'clock primetime spot. Do you want to hear something even funnier?
Sure, yeah. I'm in a laughing mood today. Sure.
So, hypothetically speaking, if they were to get, I just want to double check that I'm right on this. Um, Let me see, because they're right now they're at 13 winless, right? 13 winless.
Yep.
Hypothetically, if they beat the 2021 team, their streak of 18 without a win,
hmm
can you guess which team it is that they would lose their 19th game against?
Would it be just for the irony? Because I know that record is tied with the Penguins. Would it be against the Penguins?
It would be against the Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh no. That would that would suck. But also it's like, do you really expect to win that game the way they've been playing?
It's one of the craziest parts of this streak is that this is a league where there's never been more parity than right now. And in a sport of such randomness and fortunes changing every game, it's amazing it's gotten to this point. But if they lose, I mean, the Islanders game tomorrow is like a toss up. Chicago's the one you conceivably should win. But if you don't beat Chicago, your schedule is St. Louis, Dallas, then Colorado, then Vegas.
Oh man. I gotta say though, like I am not trying to make excuses for them. These past 13 games, other than maybe the Canadians game, like they have not had the easiest schedule, but it's the NHL. Like you
Man,
you
I was
gotta
gonna
you
say, I
gotta win.
guess they've played Montreal. Well, they just played them once. I mean, they played Utah. They played Detroit.
Yeah.
The Rangers they just played, who are in free fall. I mean, this has been. I saw a stat the other day. I think walking into the Toronto game, this past Toronto game, they have the eighth hardest schedule left in hockey.
How does that even work? Like
I
we've
think
been
it's
so bad all the time. Like how does that work?
I think it's back to backs, and
Oh,
your strength of schedule at the beginning of the year might not equal what it is at the end of the year because teams are
right,
unexpectedly good.
right.
Um, but it's like, I mean, yeah, if you think like they haven't played Boston at all yet until last night. Have they played? I guess they played Ottawa once, but they got to play them a few more times, and they're red hot. It's like, dude, this could get a lot worse. Like
This could get ugly.
we are talking about like there was as bad as this streak got. I don't think it really clicked until maybe after It probably was the Montreal game where I'm like, oh, like this really is a bottom five team in the NHL.
Yeah, it's not good. It is not good. I was talking to my dad last night and he said he's checked out until they're good again. He's like, they don't deserve my time. They don't deserve my money. I've just had enough of all of this nonsense. He says, until they're good again, they're not going to deserve my time. And I go, I kind of understand that, but when it comes to me, I talk about this team on a weekly basis. So I'm going to be following them either way. But I was listening to the episode, what it was the 101st episode. It was just you and JP because I was on sabbatical. And it was funny because I listened to it after the Montreal game happened. So every time you guys were like, they could get it done. This is, the 10 games, they could get it done. It's like they're riding a 10 game anytime you guys would say 10-game losing streak, I go 11. It's 11 now.
I'm glad you brought up last episode because JP and I were joking about it during the Montreal game. We jinxed two more times. I said during the episode, I was like, watch, they'll get like the Sabres will have like a comfortable 7-1 or 6-1 win. Flip the other way, Montreal won 6-1. And then later in the episode, when we were doing our favorite segment of checking in on old Sabres who are doing well, JP was discussing we were discussing the bottom feeders, and he's like, "Oh, which guys on like Montreal or Nashville or like were even like big players on the Sabres." And I think the first name I said on Montreal, I was like, Montreal's got Joel Armina. He's like, "Wow, I mean, come on, like, does he really count?" Scores the first goal 19 seconds into the game.
I
It's
didn't even I didn't
evil.
even put two and two together
It's
there. That is
evil,
funny.
man. It is. It's every time
The jinx
without
is
miss.
so bad, man. It is terrible. And it's weird because I feel like we're making a lot of inside jokes. You guys brought up the voice memo I had sent you guys, and then after the Montreal game, Jonah sends one back, and I don't think I've ever heard him more mad in my entire life, having done this for the last 3 years. And I feel like we got to release these at some point because it's like everyone out there is going to be like, what are they saying? Why are they making inside jokes on the podcast? Like we gotta hear what they're saying. But it was just funny. You gotta just be able to laugh about it because there's still, if it doesn't give you a headache hearing that there's still 50 games left in the season, you gotta laugh. You gotta laugh
Less
about it.
less than 50. We're less than 50. We got 48 to go. We're
Is it
almost
too
halfway there.
is it too early to start talking about who we're going to be drafting with a top three pick this year?
I don't know. I
Because
mean, their first overall odds are higher than their playoff odds already.
their playoff Money Puck this morning posted them. They're 0.8%.
That's insane, dude. Point 8. We're not
0.8%.
even at Christmas yet.
It is December 22nd, and they're at 0.8%. But hey, I guess Terry Pagula really galvanized them with that pep talk he gave them.
What was the quote that Adam said in his infamous presser? He was like, "Nobody makes the playoffs on December 6th." Well, we're at December 22nd. You're certainly not making them.
No.
So, oh man,
No,
just
you get eliminated by that point. We've
yeah,
known that
we're getting
very
close. Are they
well.
going to be like? I mean, they're not. They're probably not going to be mathematically out of it till like what, February?
Probably, yeah. It'll probably be around February.
Man,
Man, rip meaningful games in March this year. Not happening.
we got meaningful games in January. Dude, they
We
don't
gotta
even
go
win this
like,
month. They
dude, we
haven't won in
gotta
December.
if we want to sniff the post any semblance of like the 2022-23 run that they had to go on. If we want to even get to that point, they have to go like 13-3-2 in the next 16 games.
I think you're selling it short. I think they got to go like. I mean, they got to go on like, on a Nashville type run of last year where they. I don't think. I mean, they went on a 10-game win streak. It's over, man. They're done.
Yeah, they're dead in the water. I was saying last night watching the game because I was out with some of my cousins and I was talking to one of them and you're just talking about like, he's a Penguins fan, so he lives in Pittsburgh. So he's grew up in Pittsburgh, but um or went back and forth. Either way. Um I was just saying, like after you get on a run this bad, it's a mental thing after a certain amount of games. Like then you just start looking at the schedule and you start picking out games like what we were doing earlier with looking at Dallas and Colorado and then the Golden Knights. You're like loss, loss, loss. The team they're all humans. They're doing the same thing. I know they're professional athletes and all, but at the same time, it's like I've been on hockey teams where you go on pretty long losing streaks and you could feel like the air's gone in the locker room. It's just the season starts becoming about getting one win instead of a greater goal.
Like last night against Boston, it wasn't. They played fine. Second
Yeah, it
half of
was
a back
cool.
to back in Boston, they were probably the better team. And it's like if they lose that game, okay, you probably get mad at Sam Lafferty, and then you get mad at Matthias Samuelsson for pushing a guy into his goaltender. But other than that, you're walking away going, oh well, it was a good game, got unlucky. But it's like, guess what? It's game 13 of a losing streak or a winless streak. Sorry, they like to differentiate the two terms.
What's the longest losing streak in NHL history? Just
I
like
was
straight
I
losses.
was just looking this up actually, and it's very funny. You go to the winless streak one, and it's
The Sabres are pretty high up there a bunch of
they're
times.
high up, and they got the website has like a marker, like it has the letter A for active still on there, so you just see. But let me see, longest losing streaks.
Wait, could I guess? Just to get because I feel like I have an answer for this.
Okay,
And it would depend on how far back we're going here.
let me see. You would be going back. Okay, you should. I feel like it's post expansion. I feel like you should know which team it is.
How far back? Is it pretty far back?
Like Gilbert Pearl was a Buffalo Sabre.
Okay, yeah, I think I know what it is. Is it the like 77 Capitals?
The 74-75 Capitals.
74, 70. Their expansion team. They were
Yeah. They
atrocious.
won what, 8 games?
Something like that. Yeah, they won like 8 games. I think they imagine having that season. Because I think the Sabres in their inaugural season, they didn't make the playoffs, but they were the out of the expansion teams, they were like one of the hottest ones out of the gate.
Well, yeah.
Made the cup in their first 5 years.
I think did they make the playoffs? What was it? Their third year? I think they made the
Yeah.
playoffs. Yeah. Yeah, the
Like,
Capitals they lost 17 straight
yeah,
once that year.
that's nuts.
I was
17
looking at
straight.
so I was looking at the winless streaks records. The 92-93 San Jose Sharks, they did it twice. They lost 13. They went 13 without a win twice.
We're we are comparing our current modern franchise to expansion teams before the expansion rules were in place, where they were just picking up plumbers. Like teams could protect like their entire rosters except like the bottom feeders. Like expansion back then was tough for teams, like really tough.
Yeah, the
And
bad
we're
teams were
comparing
bad.
our team. Yeah, we're comparing our team to those teams. An
Yeah.
organization that's been around for 54 years.
Do you want to guess what the longest winless streak in NHL history is? It's a lot.
Oh man, I'm also assuming it's going to be going back to like an older era team.
It's not. Yes, I'll give you a hint. It was a team that relocated and came back.
Relocated and came back. Okay, so is it the first iteration of the Winnipeg Jets?
It is.
And would it be their expansion year
It might
or
have been.
their
I forget which year they expanded. It might. I think. Actually, I think it was the year after they expanded
wasn't
or
Dale
merged
Hawerchuk
or
on that
merged.
team?
Was he on it that early? I don't know, man. Given this winless streak, I don't know if he was on that team by that point.
What was the winless streak?
It was 30 games.
Oh my
The
God.
1980-81 season from October 19th to December 20th. That's like if the Sabres didn't win a
No.
game from like the opening week to now. Can you imagine being a fan through that?
That is, oh my God. There were probably, if you go back, like obviously we didn't have podcasts and tech as good a technology. Like there were probably people just screaming at bookshelves.
Yeah, that is pretty insane.
But yeah,
Hopefully,
you gotta
hopefully
you
we don't get
gotta
close to that.
you gotta laugh about this stuff, guys. Like I understand we're going through a little bit of a rough patch. Um, the whole hockey media is on us as per usual.
There's no
They're all
reason to
talking
panic.
about
Why is everybody freaking
no,
out?
yeah, everyone
Everything's fine.
take a chill pill. Terry knows what he's doing.
He
Kevin
cares.
Adams knows he cared. He flew in to Montreal to watch his team, and that's probably the only game he's gone to this year. But he still cares, guys. He cares. Did you listen to that athletic podcast on
I
on the
started
Sabres?
listening to it. I heard they went pretty deep into it.
I I do because I don't really all respect to them because they have a good podcast, but I barely I don't know. I just haven't listened very often as of recent. But who's the NHL player that they have on?
I forget the name escapes me.
Okay,
Uh,
well, either way, he said that an owner doing that like is completely unheard of in the league. Like that is something that the general manager would handle. And when you see the owner as a player, it is literally when you're at like a Christmas party and your agent or the GM comes over to you and is like, "Hey, go say hi to Mr. Pagula or Mr. whatever his name is. Go say thank you, say Merry Christmas, and then go up on your way."
well, that's what I said to JP. I'm like, how many guys do you think that was their first introduction to Terry Pagula? Like they'd never
Oh,
seen
a
him
lot.
before.
Other than draft day, a lot. Like that's the only time I see Terry when we see him sitting at the draft table,
Yeah,
writing
exactly.
down something in his little notepad, just like he's ordering his lunch.
The NHL player was Frankie Corrado.
Frankie Corrado. Well, all respect to their podcast because that was one of my first listens and they do a good job.
I'm glad, because I wanted it to happen after the Montreal. I mean, first of all, we didn't even like discuss. We haven't been able to discuss it. All we discussed was the meeting. Terry Pagula addresses the players, essentially gives them. I don't want to say gives them a sense of security, but tries to motivate them. Tells them that, look, you have to do it on your own. Uh, there's no help coming. The solution is in the room, and they promptly responded with the worst loss of the entire losing streak. I will defend it again, even worse than the Colorado game. They lose 6-1 to the Montreal Canadiens, and from there, you like, what else is there to really say? Like this team, this organization, as it's currently constructed, is broken. It's the perfect signal of what it's come to.
Oh my God, man. Do you ever hear the any history buffs out there? Do you know about Hernan Cortez, the explorer? Well, I kind of made a comparison to him to Terry because what he did was when he was I can't remember where he was going, but he burned all of his ships so they couldn't return to the New World. He's like, guys, no help is coming. I just burned all the ships. We are going head first into enemy territory, and we're gonna do what we have to do. And now everyone's probably just standing around like, you've got to be hitting me with this. Like what? You just burned. There's no help coming. It's like, what are you doing? And
That's
then
a
Terry probably thought like, oh, we're just gonna go head first and we're gonna conquer everyone. Nope.
that's a
Hernan
hell of
Cortez did, but
that's
Terry
a
did.
that's an incredible connection to make. But it's spot on. JP and I joked about it. How many, like, what are the odds he brought up the Bills at least once?
Oh my God, it had to be pretty hot.
I said like negative 10,000. There's no way he didn't mention it at least once. The more intriguing line is like the over under, like how many times he brought them up.
No, yeah, he 100% had to have brought them up. Like, and I know we like press on him for like, why aren't you talking to the media? Why aren't you talking to the media? And after all this time, yes, I get like not talking to the media, but anytime he opens his mouth in front of a microphone, it's terrible. It is awful.
I love that, like thinking back on that meeting or the interview he just had at the owners meetings, and they're like, "What are you going to spend your money on that you just sold 25% of a NFL franchise for?" And he's like, I haven't made up my mind yet. It's like, help, 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 please. I have an
Hello, we're
idea
going
right
down over
here.
here, please.
Right here, I have an idea. Oh my God. But then from that point, it's like, okay, now you've done it to yourself. In the span of like 5 days, you went and answered questions from the biggest insider in football on the biggest network, on one of the biggest football networks. And a few days later, you're flying to meet with 23 NHL players and your entire hockey ops core. So
Yeah,
it's
all
like,
two of them.
yeah, that too. And so it's like now you have no excuse. Why else would you not meet with the media? I know they want to meet with you, but we know why.
Yeah, we know why. We are living through the Harold Ballard ownership of the Sabres. Just Terry is a lot quieter and he's definitely not as mean, but just the penny pinching. That's what we're living through. We're living through a Sabres hockey era of cheapness and penny pinching. And it's funny because when he first came here, he was like, financial breaks are off, guys. I know when Golisano was here and he was all about making money for the team, which I kind of understood, but also at the same time, I was like, you're also kind of rich, dude. Like, you could have spent a little more to sign. Like, a lot of people, like my dad and a lot of people who are probably in their mid 30s, they don't like Golisano for the way he ran the team. And we thought Terry was going to be a breath of fresh air, but
Two things can be bad at once. Like
yeah,
it's that, and this is like, and we've seen like over the past week, because time messes with our heads. Like suddenly we've gotten so far removed from the early Eichel era that now Tim Murray is seen as like somewhat as of a visionary. It's like
a
no,
pioneer.
he was not a good GM. Poor, and neither was Jason Botterill, but Jason Botterill was left jack all from Tim Murray's tenure as GM. He had no prospects. Draft picks were um, draft picks have been spent the last go around, and even there were some big contracts in place. And Jason Botterill didn't set up Kevin Adams well. Like they all sucked. They all sucked. Nobody was good, and it's pointless to talk about who. Like people think the one poll going around was like, which GM did the most damage, and it's like it's funny. It's like it goes in reverse chronological order. Oh, it's Adams, then it's Botterill, then it's Murray. It's like you can't grade off of that. But it doesn't matter. They all stink because it's the same guy as the top.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't get those comparisons. Like Tim Murray came in and he threw a hand grenade into the core of
He
this
screwed up
organization.
like this. If they would have waited another year, like if they had tanked, or not even tanked again, but if they had just done, like let's say if he had done what Kevin Adams did with this core and just let Eichel Reinhardt play out their rookie seasons, maybe still trade for O'Reilly, but other than that, like you don't make the Leonard trade, you don't make the Evander Kane trade, and maybe you finish bottom five again. Guess what? You get one of Matthews, Line, Kachuk, um, even like I don't know, even like Jesse. Didn't Puyarvi go like fourth or sixth that year? I don't know. The 2016 draft was pretty decent. Like if you and then maybe Tim Murray goes all in, but no, it's like he sped up the process, was way too reckless, and he screwed it up. But some
I
people,
can't
but
believe,
now we've gotten to the point where it's like now you have a GM that's on the opposite side of that, so now that seems like the better option. It's like no, they both sucked. They both were not good.
I gotta say, I was thinking about like, how we're not doing anything and no moves are being made. I feel like history was repeating itself with this organization making desperation moves every now and then. We've gotten past the point where it's like a 4 or 5 game losing streak. That's probably the time in which you wanted to do something. We're at 13 games now. Playoff hopes are done. At this point, I unless it's for like again, unless it's for making the roster better, I would not move any pieces for prospects. Nothing. I would not move Cousins for a pick and God knows what his name is playing in the SHL. I wouldn't move Byram for a Yoki player plus a pick. I just stick to the course at this point and just go into the offseason and reevaluate everything. Unless you're trading for fingers crossed Elias Pettersson, but we know that's not going to happen. I'm not willing to move players just for players because the vultures are circling. We heard it in the media the last couple of weeks. He's been getting calls on guys, Cousins, Byram, whoever else. People are trying to inquire. I feel like Sabres of old would have, been like, this isn't working, and they just, throw their pieces out the window. I would just shut the phone off, put it on mute. Unless you're picking up the phone to make a call, you don't entertain anything. We're just everyone's going down with the ship. The
Well, let's
ship is
get
sinking and we're going down with it.
well. Let's continue that conversation very quick. Just want to ask you, what's your concernometer?
I think I'm gonna ride around maybe like a 5, maybe like a 5 or a 6. No, it's a 10. Of
Yeah,
course, it's a 10. What's
of
the point
course.
of this segment anymore, guys? God
That's what I'm
damn it.
saying. We might have to retire it for a little bit. It's going to be like groundbreaking news when somebody dares to rank it as a 9. All right. So I just want to get that out of the way. More importantly, let's let's talk hypotheticals for a bit. So, season's done. We're done, barring a literal all-time comeback. The season's done.
Hmm.
Where do you go from here? Let's say the season ends, okay, and we know like it's a rotten organization from the top, but it all starts with uh, essentially spending. A lot can
Yeah.
go away if you just convince Terry Pagula to open his wallet. Let's say you sat him down and somehow you convinced him that, for one season, prove to me that, you can turn this around if I put more into it. What are you changing? Who stays, who goes? That just doesn't mean the players. That means everything around it. What does the future even somewhat look like to you?
All right. So if Kevin Adams is given another chance, I'd say we just work our way down. I think we start with the coaching staff.
Oh, actually, let's start with Kevin Adams.
Okay.
What do you
Okay. We'll
want to do
start.
with him?
I mean, listen, it's obvious that he's very important to a lot of the guys in his own room. We've seen Jerry Fortin talk very highly of him. I don't think he doesn't make stupid decisions, but he also doesn't do anything. So in my guesstimation, he's gonna be around again next year. So I say he's just gonna be there again.
Okay, well, hold on.
At best
I'm gonna
case
throw.
scenario.
I'm gonna throw a wrinkle in this. Okay.
Okay.
Phone call coming from Jason Carmanos. The Pittsburgh Penguins just offered him the GM job.
That's what I was getting at. That they'd move him up to president of hockey ops and then move Carmanos into the GM spot.
Okay. So
I don't think
Jason,
they'd want to lose him.
I think somebody's gonna offer one of their guys this offseason. Especially probably Carmanos, but even Ventura was starting to get interviews.
I think it would be good though, because then you have kind of a buffer between the ownership and then the GM. Maybe some sort of negotiating could go on.
I guess, but it's like, has his job really changed?
No, not really. I mean, maybe it's more of an it's more of a like a new vision at that point, but Kevin Adams basically gets thrown into like an oversight role. Hopefully he could, have more time to schmooze Terry into opening his wallet. I don't know. That's best case
It's been
scenario.
going great.
Right, yeah, it's been going great as a recent.
Okay, so fine. That's your front office. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. So what do you do with the rest of the organization from here?
So if I was gonna go to like the coaching staff, can everyone except have Lindy pick his own staff?
Do you keep Lindy for next year?
Yeah, just let him ride it out, honestly. I
Interesting.
I don't. You really think Terry's gonna like? Isn't he still paying Granado too?
Well, well, yeah, but this is the whole, um, you know, Terry's willing to open his wallet conversation. Um, like he's on the last year of his contract next year, and it's gone really bad, man. Like I know he was set up for failure, But what has Lindy Ruff improved about this team exactly?
From the from the look of it, nothing. It seems like more of the same, if not worse. But what if you threw him into the front office if he wants the job? What if you just like give him like an opportunity to work?
I mean, I guess, but is it like going to be an impactful place? I don't. I feel like it's more of like an advisory thing.
Does Craig Anderson do anything that's impactful there? What does he do?
I don't remember the last time he was seen around this organization. I thought they gave him a position, but wasn't it like a goaltending type of thing? He's barely been around.
Maybe I can't remember if it was like some sort of scouting role or anything, but yeah, the rest of the coaching staff though, you get rid of all of them. Like
So even
and
so, Appert's gone.
a gone. Eye in the sky roll. Matt Ellis, get him out of here. Like he's not doing anything. Get him out of here. You need a fresh slate. You need a head coach that's going to pick his own staff.
Does anybody come to mind immediately?
Head
I had,
coaching?
I had one that I feel like I could see happening, but I don't know if you had anybody in
Um,
mind, anybody that we discussed from the last cycle
I don't know,
that's
Craig
still out
Berube,
there.
not Berube, Bruce Boudreau.
Yeah, I guess
Um,
70 though. Like he's old, been out of the game for 2+ years now.
what young coaches are available?
The one that came to mind for me, the one guy that didn't get another shot yet, was Jay Woodcroft.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I forgot about him. I'm surprised he hasn't gotten a job yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. I feel like he's got to be coaching somewhere right now, right? Even if obviously it's not the NHL. Um, I don't know. That was like the name that just kind of came up to me. I don't know. Either way, like coaching is so like one of these times you got to get lucky, right?
Right,
Right?
yeah.
Like it's got to happen at some point.
Yeah, but the Sabres never really made their own luck. They always hired first-time head coaches, other than Bilesma. It was what? It was Phil Housley, first-time head coach. Ralph Kruger, first-time head coach. Well, if you count half a season in Edmonton. Don Granato, first-time head coach. Like you just need someone with some sort of track record, and that's what you thought you were bringing in with Ruff, but you didn't let him pick his own staff, and he's old, and it's well, old really doesn't have much to do with it, but I don't know. Maybe he did fall off after that one really good season with the Devils, and maybe maybe it's time for him to go. But
Okay, so you are fine with keeping Ruff. I don't think I'm there, but either way, like the coaching staff is basically torched. And either way, like is Lindy Ruff going to coach after next year?
no, no, it
So
would be
either
one
way,
season,
you're going to be finding a new coach again
right?
in another season. So basically, you reset the coaching staff. Um, we would like we could see Carmanos being GM. All right, let's get to the nitty gritty. The roster. What are you doing? Season's done. It basically ends. Like let's say it ended yesterday. What are you doing? Who are you keeping? What are you trying to do with it? Are you giving it another shot? Are you going to try and go all in with it for once, or are you going to kind of cut ties with some pieces?
I think the only ones that are untouchables at this point are Darlene Power, Thompson, Benson, and maybe Paterka. Anyone else is completely fair game out here.
I think Paterka is more than fair game.
You think so?
I think even even Owen Power, it's like he's like the next best thing to untouchable. But he's still like, all right, well, if you're trading for him, let me at least hear you out. Benson, it's like Benson, it's weird. He's like the guy. Obviously, he's no superstar, but it's also like I feel like if you trade him, I don't feel like there's a scenario you win that trade.
No.
So I feel like you're just better off keeping him. But yeah, I think like Darlene, most untouchable. Thompson, on basically untouchable. And I would throw Benson as a guy that I'm probably like 99% keeping. And same with Owen Power. Anybody else is fair game. If you had to
Yeah.
choose, hypothetically, if you had to choose who who's like your main trade chips?
Uh,
Let's start with Cousins.
Cousins.
Let's start with Dylan Cousins. What
We
are you
knew
doing
that
with
one
Dylan?
was coming.
Because this has been the big debate this week. What are you doing with Cousins?
I mean, if you're not going to keep him around, you got to trade him for a bigger fish. You're not the wrong move is to trade him for picks and prospects. The right move is to package him with another guy and go get someone better.
Are you
I
looking, and when the season ends, are you looking to trade him? Not
Yes.
waiting, are you looking to?
Yes. Actively, yes.
Okay.
There's something needs to change. You can't walk into next offseason with an intention in mind that all these guys that are here right now are going to work out because it hasn't worked out.
Let's say you find a deal. Let's say you find like a 1-for-1 swap with him. Are you done? Are you done with the core? Not obviously not done adding, but are you done making big sweeping changes?
No, I think Cousins, and then I think you could I'd say you try and find a way to move Samuelson too.
I think that's a buyout. If like who's taking that? There's no way anybody's taking that contract unless you're taking on another big contract.
But do you really think this organization is going to buy him out? They'd probably just be like, we'd
They
rather
would
just
save
keep
money.
him.
They would save money. The U23 buyout rule lets them only, most every buyout you basically have to pay what, 2/3? With the U23 rule, I think they would only have to pay 1/3 of his money.
Yeah, it's like nothing. Isn't it like under $1 million a year for
Well,
like
I
the
mean,
next
what? It
like
was
6 years?
a 7-year deal, $4.2 million. It's like what, a little over 30 million. So you're only dishing out like 10.
Yeah, 10 over the next 60. It's like $1 million a year if it's like a 10-year buyout. But um, do you trade Byram?
That's the interesting one. So I don't know how that ends. I don't know how much to believe with, because it's like, okay, the guy wants to be a number one defenseman. Where are you going to do that? I guess like Anaheim, maybe. Okay. If you go down the list, you're not the number one in Boston. You're not the number one in Buffalo. Detroit, no. Ottawa, no. I'm just thinking of like Atlantic division teams. Tampa, no. Uh, Montreal, no. I mean, if you go to the Metro, Devils, no. Pittsburgh, no. Washington, no. Blue Jackets, no. Philly, I guess he could be up there. I mean, even like the main team he's been connected to is Vancouver. You're not the number one in Vancouver. I'm trying to think of teams without a number one. Like Anaheim and like St. Louis kind of jump off, but to me, but like other than that, I don't. Where are you gonna go and be the number one, man? And like
Does San
why?
Jose have a number one?
I mean, Jake Wallman's like point per game this season.
Yeah, I
I
guess.
guess San Jose is probably a good one. Uh, I don't know. I feel like I'd rather keep Byram, but at the same time, if that package with Dylan Cousins and Bowen Byram for Pedersen, man, like it makes you think. It
Do
makes
you
you
take
think.
that deal?
I do. I
Yeah,
just
I'd take
I
it too.
I feel like the Sabres would have to add another piece. The one I threw around was, Hoglander's clearly like on the trade block there. So what if you dealt Cousins, Byram, Paterka for Pedersen and Hoglander?
That's a
It's a
that's got to be
dice.
one of the biggest trades in the league for the past
That's a
like
dicey
how
deal.
many years?
Like my thought process is like this team needs a trade similar to like what Calgary and Carolina did back in 2018 when Calgary sent Dougie Hamilton, Adam Fox at the time was still a prospect, and then Carolina gave them Um, oh man, it was like Elias Lindholm, and now I got to look up the trade. Now I sort of forget. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Dougie Hamilton, Michael Furland, Adam Fox for Noah Hannafin and Elias Lindholm. Like that's a big core altering trade.
How did Adam Fox end up in New York?
He didn't want to sign in Carolina, and then
Uh,
that was that. It was that.
that's tough.
That was that. That was that. He spurned two teams. But like that's like the type of deal that like I'm just sort of at like you have to make that trade with this core, and it's like you're absolutely right in the sense they can't do a prospect trade, a pick trade. I feel like everybody's in agreement on that, but it's also important to clarify because that's the one avenue they really haven't tried yet. You know, when the old core failed or was aging, tear it all down, tank, try and get the best player of the generation. You got the next best thing in that draft, and that didn't work. So what did they do? Tore it down again. Not tanked again, but did a full teardown. And it's just not feasible again for two reasons. One, the fan base cannot survive it. And B, in recent NHL history, it's really not proving to be successful. The full teardowns.
Yeah, what tanks have really jumped off the page to you as worked in the last 10 years?
I mean, tank. I think we need to clear like tank as in tear down, right? Like
Right,
the
yeah.
tank. I always like to specify like the tank didn't fail. It's just the tear down, the rebuild, everything else about it failed.
A lot of
But
people would disagree with you, I think.
well, I know, but I think there's something to be said. When you're talking about like the tank debate, it's like you try to defend one side so much, and it's like yeah, a part of the struggle of the 14-15 tanks where it's like you dug yourself such a deep hole that it was almost impossible to climb out of. And even in Eichel's first season, you improved 30 points. It's just incredibly hard to do, especially in this core's case when they went all young again. I think, like look at Chicago. Like Connor Bedard it's not playing great right now.
Mm.
And it's that team is still a ways off. And they spent big this offseason. They got Teuvo Teravainen, Tyler Bertuzzi, TJ Brody. Like it's tough to get out of.
It's reminding me of the Sabres first tank. Just like, you're trying to claw your way out of that, but you're just it. And Tim Murray did spend that off season too. It's very eerily similar.
It's tough. Things have to go incredibly right. Even the examples that you look back on, it's like, yeah, Pittsburgh did it well.
The
Uh,
Maple Leafs did it well.
yeah, even the Maple Leafs and Chicago, obviously, but all of those teams have future Hall of Famers. Well, yeah, I mean Hall of Fame. I mean you got the greatest center duo out of the generation in Pittsburgh. Kane and Taves, two Hall of Famers, and then Austin Matthews. He's probably going to be a Hall of Famer, and Mitch Marner will probably be like a borderline candidate, and then even John Tavares is like the Hall of Very Good. So
Hmm.
it's tough to do those full teardowns, and this team can't survive another one, especially given it's not going to guarantee success.
Right.
They
Yeah. So you
need
might as well go in the other direction.
they just need to find, I think, another core that has similar question marks. And I don't know.
Well,
I feel like Vancouver's the easy target because it's like something's got to give there. And I think there's a deal that can be made because they need somebody like Byram. And if they traded Pedersen, they would need somebody like Cousins. And then, Paterka's the sweetener. It's a really good sweetener. So that's why you get like Hoglander back. It's a trade that makes you uncomfortable even as a Sabres fan. And I think that means it's a good trade.
what if you replaced Paterka with Quinn?
I don't feel like they do that.
No.
No. I feel like he's too uncertain.
Well, but yeah, what you're saying does make sense because it's like you've already gone so far in one direction, gathering all this capital. Like, why would you double down on that at this point? If you're going to do some sort of a retool, which is necessary, it's like you can't really go that route anymore. You got all of this. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
you gotta You got to try and push the other direction.
Well, and
You
it's
got to
like
make the swinging change.
even like with the Rangers, this seems like the end of this current iteration with them. And people were like, yeah, like this is their sign. They need to do a full teardown. It's like, I don't know. I mean, they pounced on the chance to get Artemi Panarin back then after, sending that letter out to their fans that they were going to rebuild. It worked out great. Panarin's been awesome. And they got 2 conference finals appearances out of it. They were 2 wins away from the Stanley Cup twice.
President's Trophy.
President's Trophy. I mean, it worked out. Like that's a successful few seasons. I mean, it it's it should be a wake up call that like that's it takes you have to do uncomfortable things to win. It just is. It's never going to be easy. Even from the start, like this core was never going to be okay. You draft them, they have a linear development path. You sign them to phenomenal deals early that always work out, and then from there you just get your playoff contention. It was never going to be that simple, and obviously it's proven to be a lot less than simple as the Sabres are currently in the, shall we call it, a rut. But I think
A little
like
bit of a slump. Just
just
a
a little
little
bit, just
slump.
a
Just a little
speed
slump.
bump. As Kevin Adams said, they're going to have their ups and downs. I just think it's time to call it quits on the season. And I think it's really you start building your roster for next year now, and I think you're open to like that big core swing starting now. From now till the end of the season, to the draft, to free agency, start preparing for next year. Just get a head start. Start making moves that are gonna uh can't even say make your team better, just change your team. Because
I
it's
can't
like,
believe we got to go through this again.
oh, I know. That's what I was saying with JP last episode. It's like your path to get better was like it's been so defined the past 2 seasons, or at least it felt that way. And they failed both times, but it felt defined. Now it's like you don't know what to do. It's
Right.
sort of like you're in that 17-18 Sabres position of you,
Kind of
you
makes it a little fun too, though,
it
to
makes it
think about.
fun. Like who doesn't love trades,
Right.
but at the same it's scary because it can still go south. It can absolutely still go south.
What else are you gonna do at this point? You can't trade for picks and prospects again. Got to get proven guys. You got to establish who is your main core, who are you willing to part with, make trades to make that core better, and then build around them with good depth. So we're probably going to be seeing a completely different team next year, which is fine because this one's not working out, obviously. But the good thing is you have all the draft capital to go out and make a trade. You have all the prospects at your disposal. The one thing that you might not have is the monetary spending, which you gotta work to get.
And which can easily can make this entire conversation we just had moot.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, if you know, surprisingly, it's not that hard to be a sports owner. And I know, like, as somebody who's not one, that might seem very ignorant, but it's really not. You sign the checks. It's not hard. The Bills have proven that because that's all he's done.
Oh yeah, he's been dishing out money left and right over there.
So, it's a small dip into small look into the future. Just like hype. You got to try and spruce up the conversation a little bit. Try and make
Mhm.
it more fun.
Right.
So I don't know. I do think we are going to see a lot of changes once the season ends. It's just now you just wish you could sim to the end of the season.
Nope. They gotta go through the pain. What if they get a top pick and they trade it?
I, I s- if it's out of the top 3, maybe 4. There's like 4 guys that I feel like are worth drafting. If you're like 5, 6, or the dreaded 7 or 8 spot that they always find themselves in, sure, like yeah, I'm open to that. Absolutely, I'm open to that. But you still don't want to be dumb. You don't want to be in that like that's how I was with the Owen Power draft at the time. I was like, I didn't even want the first overall pick. Like I wanted Matty Beniers. I kind of bought into the Owen Power narrative that a lot of scouts were trying to create. But Yeah, you don't want to be dumb because like all
Yeah,
drafts, even like this is supposed to be a bad draft, and it's like yeah, it doesn't have a generational prospect, which of course, of course,
as
but
per usual.
it still has really good players. So uh, I think if you're in the top four, I think you keep the pick. I don't know where you're at on that.
No, yeah, I would unless some unbelievable trade came your way. Um, yeah, I would keep it.
All right, so that was a lot of talking. I think that's a good place to leave off on for now. Actually, there is one more thing that we didn't talk about yet. Uh, it's the holiday trade freeze, roster freeze. Actually, yeah, they didn't do anything beforehand.
Are we surprised? No.
No, but at the same time, like a little, like you really sit back, like 13 straight losses, no coaches fired. No guy, not a single guy on waivers, not even like a Beck Malenstein or even Nicholas Albe-Kubel. Nobody on waivers, no coaches are fired, uh, and no trades.
Weird, weird organization, man. Very weird. But like I said earlier in the episode, we're at 13, so it's like what's really the point of trying to make a trade for this season? Unless it's for like a big guy who's under contract. Like you're not going out and getting a Ryan O'Reilly or a Nyquist anymore. That ship has sailed. That's
I
done.
don't even care. Like if they did, at least they would be like, at least you're trying to help the team. I mean, it's something.
Just
You
like
know,
a morale move.
I mean, even at like 10 straight losses, even if they added like a Nyquist or like a Michael Bunting. Like it's still something because even after 10 losses, it was still salvageable. They were like 6 points out of or yeah, 6 points out of a spot. JP and I were talking about last episode. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And like they weren't going to come back, but like it was mathematically possible. And then you rattle off 3 losses in regulation against Atlantic Division foes. So it's done. It really is done.
Yeah,
And
it's over.
I would assume, from what we've heard, it sounds like if this continues into mid-January, like, can't believe, they got to wait till, you don't want to be too hasty with a decision. You wouldn't want to be too rash, wouldn't want to overreact. But it seems like mid-January is clear. It's going to be an interesting trade deadline.
If they do fire Kevin Adams somehow, does he just get immediately replaced with Carmanos?
I saw the Jerry Fortin idea floated out there.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
I think I would be.
You think so?
I don't know, like
It's like who else are you gonna get? Like at this point, it's like if they're gonna
Jerry
replace
Fort.
someone with someone, it's like whatever.
I don't know. It's just kind of like like another internal guy. Like at least Carmanos, like he was brought in from the outside, or even the Ventura thing. I don't know. It's like if Jerry, like I don't know, weird stuff happens. You can get lucky. Maybe Jared Fortin would be a great GM, but at the same time, I don't know. Wasn't the scouting staff, weren't they the ones against the Benson draft? I think they were like very skeptical of him. I think it was the analytics guys pushing for him. I don't know. I don't want to create any false narratives. I just feel like I remember reading that. Just when it would not excite me.
No.
No. But we'll see. Still plenty of season left, plenty of storylines to unfold, and maybe just maybe the next time we talk, they will have won a hockey game. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't it be nice?
Would
Just
be
talk
nice
about
to
a
talk
just,
about a
just
win.
to talk about a win. It's like we didn't even go into these games, but it's almost like what's the point? You want to talk about I don't know. Do you want to talk about Matthias Samuelsson taking out his goalie's ACL last night?
I can't believe I was watching that at a bar. I didn't have the game in front of me, but I just looked down at my phone. I saw a text from you. It was just LMAO. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. What happened? And I just went on
Everybody's
Twitter
well, I know, and
and I was like,
everybody
what was
saw
that?
it coming. Like it's Sam Lafferty just takes a really bad penalty with 3 minutes to go, and it's like, all right, here we go, and that's exactly what happened. So, oh well.
Unfortunate.
How was that Toronto game?
I sat next to a fan. He was nice, good guy. We were just talking most of the game just about like stuff. The people in front of us were hammered. Just the one guy was talking about like falling over the railing maybe because we sit in the 300s like on the second row and the first one's right up against that little pane of glass. He's talking about like accidentally falling over and stuff. And I mean, the atmosphere was cool, but it also kind of sucked at the same time because, I'm just sitting there and then they score and everyone around you jumps up and I'm just like looking around. I'm like, I'm at a home game right now. Like, what is going on? But whatever. It is what it is. And then I tried the old reverse jinx. I beat the traffic out and
So
then
close. Oh, it was.
thought
It
I
would have been.
had it.
It would have been
Thought I
amazing.
had it. Would have been the
When
funniest.
It would have been the funniest reverse jinx of all time if Christian leaving would have encouraged them to a 5-1. I said when it was 5-1. I think when they made it 5-2, because JP and I were there, I turned to him and I go, it'd be really funny if this is how they did it.
Most
But
dangerous lead in hockey.
almost very close, but not close enough. All right, I think that's going to do it for this one. Thank you very much for listening. If you haven't already, be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at the Sabre Report, also on Instagram, TikTok, and Bluesky at the Sabre Report. If you listen to this on YouTube, thank you very much for listening. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Go give our friends over at the Buffalo Sports Talk podcast a listen. JP, who is not here today, evidently, is currently in Orchard Park awaiting kickoff for the Bills-Patriots game today. And after hopefully a big Bills win, our guys over at the Buffalo Sports Talk podcast will have the chance to recap yet another win for the juggernaut that is the Bills. So wouldn't it be nice? Isn't it just, I can't imagine what it's like to be one of them right now.
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, I don't know who I said this to, but I was just like, the Bills better win the Super Bowl this year to cancel out all the pain the Sabres are causing me. I was be like, all right, I'll take a last place finish if it guarantees a Super Bowl, and then we move on from that. But
It's the end of the episode, so like I'm gonna try and sneak this in here. Would you accept an early Bills playoff exit if it meant that the entire Bills fandom somehow turned it on to Terry Pagula? He was just coming from all sides, that like level of hate.
I feel like I'm biased saying yes because I'm such a big Sabres fan, but
I won't say yes, but it's
I
like
can't say yes.
it hurts that like he gets to go to another franchise and just like it, he's just
Just celebrating, popping champagne
yeah,
while the other one's drowning over here.
giving speeches in the locker room, I don't know. Hopefully nobody listens to this part. But yeah, if you want updates of the pod, you can follow us at Sabre Report Pod. Next time we'll speak to you guys. When do they play this week? I know they got the Islanders on Monday. Then it's obviously
Yep.
a little Christmas break. Are they off till Friday against Chicago?
Yep. Chicago's the next game after
Okay.
that.
Well, maybe we'll talk to you guys Thursday. Maybe not. Only if there's a news dump, which I wouldn't expect there to be, considering it is Christmas. So probably the next time we'll speak to you is next Sunday, when the roster freeze is over, and God forbid, hopefully they have a W under their belts.
I hope so.
Hope
Really hope so.
so. So, other than that, thank you very much for listening. Take care. Have a happy holidays, and as always, go Sabres.
Go Sabres.